playing 11 maps each so far this tournament. Krakoa is going to be the random domination map of choice. Pretty good news for Patapim, you're 2-1, and it's actually Insomnia. We've not seen them play it at all so far. And you're right, Pasiwo is going to be in over from Sentinel, so that I think does change what my prediction would have been if I knew that Sentinel wasn't playing today. I probably would have gone for Patapim because that's the problematic area, I suppose, that's been coming in.
Getting ourselves set up with the early low-key ban. It seems Insomnia are going to the rad school of drafting, of not hyper-prioritizing some vanguards in this case, and they are not prioritizing vanguards at all. As BRR are going to get their hands on the Magneto, we see a Psylocke Loki as the first two bans here.
And the Loki one makes sense. The Psylocke one is just a little bit too off the goop, I think, from Insomnia, but that's the kind of curveballs that you want to be throwing in the direction of Patapim to send them potentially off in a different direction. But no, they're sort of sticking to their grounds, right? This is kind of what I want to see from all business last game, of just kind of commit. You want to play the Magneto, you want to practice the Magneto over the EMEA Frost, and go for that. Then you can ban out the Loki if there's potential of trying to play a bit of Groot as well, because Polly and Enzo are able to pick it up. Banning out the Wolverine does make a lot of sense.
The respect from both these teams. They are actually targeting each other aggressively here. With BRR, it's a standard ban, the Magneto, but also Forever is insane at it. The Wolverine has been Demon's bread and butter for turning games that they were struggling with earlier. So taking that focus. And Insomnia, they are putting all of their eggs into the Pokey basket. Taking out Psylocke and Storm already. Pokey has also played Storm and Ultron, so they do have some other options. And we see Luna Snow sneak through the draft phase for Insomnia here.
It's an interesting one. I don't know if they've actually picked Luna at all so far of Insomnia. So it's a little bit of a change up. But yeah, like they've gone for the likes of Loki and even Invisible Woman in one case for Relaxing Nights. So interesting that they've actually gone aggressive into something that Patapim haven't seen before. But they're going to take out the Atom. They're going to protect themselves to Captain America over for most likely Polly. And then you've got the Wolverine being banned out. So yeah, Enzo being over on the Magneto makes sense. You've got the Captain America, but you have some freedom to play some Groot if either one of them want to decide to go for a good shot at it.
See the counter Wolverine ban, just in case they want to play Groot. We're going to make Insomnia making sure that they do not get locked down. So they protected Emma quite early. They were going for these target bans, but like you mentioned, they let Polly's Captain America through. So they made sure that the Vanguard that they got was Emma. Carbon Crush into Captain America is a great way to stop them charging down, and we will see the mirrors between the Captain Americas here.
I guess looking at the Adam ban is the interesting one for me up against Patapim, because like sure you can go for shutting down the triple strategist, but you can just put an Ultron there instead. I don't know how much of a focus that's been for Patapim in the past. I don't know if they've played a little bit of it because Pokey's been on it. It's only been banned against them once, so I don't think that it's really something that teams are terrified of. But if BRR Patapim want to sort of show a new look and start off playoffs with a comp that is strong, that can avoid a lot of these big hits in the draft system, going for Ultron Triple Strategist isn't a bad shout. Especially because the Mantis is still available, so you still have those Inspires that could damage boost and potentially set the likes of Demon or Pokey up with a bit more damage.
Not going to be seeing a Mantis from the side of BRR Patapim, as it looks like they are going with Cloak and Dagger Luna Snow to just go for the safest possible setup that they can. Insomnia, they are also going for the Luna Snow and Invisible Woman. Not going to be bringing out the Cloak and Dagger of their own, but they do have the Psylocke and Captain America composition that BRR would have especially enjoyed. Instead, not going to get their own Psylocke. They are forced onto the Star-Lord and the Punisher.
Yeah, just poking it down. Also makes sense why they want to get the Luna, just to get the Idol Aura over on Tanuki, and also the Magneto as well, to put those bulwarks on top of him. Farm this up for free, and it is just more chip damage when you're looking at the fact that Pokey in the backline with a turret. That's a hell of a roll-up, but he's landed right into the loving arms of Forever. Fortunately, though, Tanuki's able to take him down, and the point's going to go over towards Patapim.
That is a huge first fight for BRR PATAPIM, but they are already pushing on up this ramp just to make sure that they can get a little bit of zone, a little bit of harassment onto the members of Insomnia as they regroup and prepare for the next assault. But this is somewhere where we can't see BRR PATAPIM get complacent, because we've already seen how deadly Captain America and Psylocke can be as a backline dive composition. We saw the turnaround of it with Pokey using the culling turret for extra sustain to allow them to get the pickup, but if they just let the side of Insomnia move in for even a moment, that they could be in serious trouble.
Lurking actually in the Invisible Woman is good when you band up the Wolverine, so you're not going to get pulled out of these positions. But Insomnia, I think it requires them to be on the point in the first place. That's a great combo actually from Forever to clean up nicely onto Tanuki in a position where the rest of BRR PATAPIM can't help.
Pokey getting focused down, Nocta through the skirt grenade, trying to get onto that Magneto. Pokey playing quite far back, very safe here, but they're getting a little bit outnumbered. The Pointers currently has more members for Insomnia on it, but BRR PATAPIM going to take the moment to move on in with the Eternal Bond, the Meteor M, and the Final Judgment. Fate of both worlds to try and sustain this, and it's working out for the moment, but Lurkin will not get that level of sustain as Polly helps out to get the pickup.
Oh, this is clean from Pokey and it's clean from PATAPIM. This combo, this setup, architecturally sound. Insomnia can't really seem to do much to contest, but the portal play is having to come out. That in the invisible boundary might provide a bit of a safety net for Insomnia if they want to contest this, but leaving it for as long as possible. In fact, are they going to even do it on the point? No, they're going to do it on the high ground, which might require a bit of a double back to actually go in and touch. The Silent Seduction is going to be the thing to go in first. But it is just Forever contesting as of right now. Fate of both worlds from Alex is going to allow BRR PATAPIM to go in and fight on the objective. But the Vanguards are the one finding the picks. You've got the invisible boundary happening off of sight. And a bit more of a battering ram coming in as Pasiwo's found another pick to go in. And Polly now is using that freedom charge. A bit of an over-dedication because it doesn't really feel like BRR PATAPIM can hold on to this when you've got Forever and Pasiwo finding all of the eliminations. That front line is really connecting, and BRR PATAPIM have to give up the point at 99%.
99% though is still very solid, and they're still going to have their own Galactic Legend. Insomnia, they burned basically everything for this. They have Freedom Charge. They're 69% of the way towards an Eye of Agamotto as they're currently running this triple Vanguard composition due to Demon having to set up the portal for them in order to get this re-engage. It was a little bit risky, like you said, taking it off the point, but it meant that the strategists had a high ground position where they weren't going to get too much danger. Nice Guardian Barrier. The strategists just taking care of each other.
Bunker setup for BRR PATAPIM isn't actually on the point itself, but you can see how Insomnia are sweating a little bit. Meteor M for Enzo available, and everybody's grouped up, so he's licking his lips a little bit. You've got the Galactic Legend sat on from Tanuki, but it's waiting out some of the supportive ultimates, starting with that Freedom Charge from Pasiwo. Fate Both Worlds sat on, probably going to come in straight on afterwards, but the Meteor M misses its target. The Galactic Legend has ultimate stacked on top of each other as the Eye of Agamotto from Demon, as he's trying to contest, is not actually going to be there available. So BRR PATAPIM cutting on through. There's just enough to go with the Final Judgment to clean on house. And BRR PATAPIM only needing one more fight after they got to 99%. Insomnia not looking to be able to contest.
Nice hold, BRR PATAPIM, utilizing those aerial duels from the Star-Lord for the turnaround and making the most of the fact that their ultimates had enough damage to melt through some of those strategist ultimates. It was just a solid, safe setup here by BRR PATAPIM. Exactly what you requested from them, and it's working out quite well in their favor for the moment. Demon is currently still on the Doctor Strange. We'll see if they continue this triple strategist setup, or whether they'll mix it up and bring out something with a little bit more damage, a little bit more oomph. There we go, the torch.
I don't know if you saw, after Pokey got the point at the end, he was looking at his camera and fixing his hair.
You may have just been
I did not see that.
He's got like the David Beckham haircut of like the 1990s. It's great. 20k healings from Relaxing Sky though, or Relaxing Nights. Just decided to change up the name a little bit. Rebrand yourself potentially. Maybe the night is over and it's a new day and a new dawn for Insomnia, but they've still found themselves a point down over on Krakoa. Now, a map that they chose, randomly assigned to them, the portal play for Enzo is going to be the thing that starts off and setting up Pokey, no doubt, with a good position with the turret.
They've chosen high ground and the objective instead of going for any quick blow-ups. This is going to allow Pokey to get set up, like you mentioned. This is going to allow them to take the objective first, unless Insomnia can get the good engagement. Currently, ultimates, Freedom Charge for Polly, Dance of the Butterflies for Nocta. This is going to mean that Insomnia may have the opportunity to go for the quicker blow-up, but if they wanted to, they're running out of time, as Dance of the Butterfly is already going to be used, and Fate of Both Worlds, just coming off cooldown, will match it. They tried to go up onto that high ground to go for the backline blow-up, and will not find anything.
Yeah, I think Alex was actually sort of hiding, just ready to peel, because they were up on the high ground waiting the whole time. Freedom Charge now running through from Polly, at the same time that Psionic Seduction from Forever is trying to come through. Lurkin, though, with the Eternal Bond, is able to find the pick. The Psychic Spear is available to do a little bit more burst damage to cut on through, and Demon's just going to do it himself, though. He's got the Kraken's Impact to keep these resets flying in. BRR PATAPIM were the first on the point. They postured up nicely, but it's actually going to be Insomnia to stall it out and take the point first here over on the Cradle.
Tell me if this sounds familiar to you, Ryan. Insomnia are struggling a little bit on a map, and Demon says, hold on, I got this, and picks up a different hero. They are suddenly in control on the point and forcing BRR PATAPIM to push back in. The Winter Soldier. That is a lovely freeze there. But Winter Soldier, with the Bionic Hook, with the Soldier's Fist, they are able to just get so much lockdown to try and stop Polly from getting all that freedom. They're a little bit less vulnerable because they can stay behind the shields compared to being focused down by that Punisher and by the Starlord when they were on the torch. It's a lovely adjustment as Final Judgment for Pokey comes on in immediately. That Fate of Both Worlds coming in for the extra protection, but the damage output is strong. The Aegis for that kind of protection to tank on through, force the Skirt Grenade out and Dance the Butterfly to the backline to try and clean them up. Everyone is so low, but Passimo is keeping the team topped up. Me, Eb, and BRR with just slivers of HP on Alex and Ken are trying to turn this round, but Ken and Alex both down. Galactic Legend for the turnaround. Strategists are falling for both teams across the board, but it's BRR who have the positioning advantage, taking the point, and they will start to get some percentage of their own.
That was a little bit dicey from PATAPIM, to be honest. You saw Enzo throwing in a Meteor M, and it's still Insomnia were the ones that were finding the pick on the right-hand side, as you were seeing in the feed. So now it was just an over-dedication for BRR PATAPIM, but they managed to get it over the line. Insomnia building up some good stuff so far. Both Blondes having their ults, the Eternal Bond, and another Psionic Seduction over from Forever. Tanuki needs to go careful. He's taking a good amount of poke damage. He's able to back up, but he's trying to connect over with Polly. They're aggressive enough to actually find the picks, and it's incredibly clean with the setup with the turret.
Nocta trying to get a little bit of damage onto this defensive high ground bunker position, and Polly chasing down any stragglers. They find Emma, but they will not commit too close to the enemy spawn. They do not want to get staggered, but it's going to give enough space for BRR PATAPIM to catch up. Just about to hit 50%, meaning 9% behind, and Insomnia forced to regroup once again and make their way through the standard entrance.
Yeah, the old-fashioned way. Demon does have that Kraken's Impact. That was the thing that cracked open the point for Insomnia last time. But it's hard when you've got the Punisher set up on the high ground with a turret like this. It's just pot shots to break it down, which is just going to give PATAPIM a little bit more time. And time is going to be really good for Enzo here. He's not that far away from having a Meteor M. But the Dance of the Butterfly from Nocta, at least pushing people off the high ground. Didn't really result in an elimination, but it created some space. Might not matter, though, as Polly's good at turning these into numbers. And Insomnia just losing too many players. You've got 85% on the board, so it has to be a pretty abrupt reset, and hoping to go in off Nocta, who's picked up the Strange.
But immediately Culling Turret is about to be set back up. 95, 96, Portal is in time. No defensive ultimates, it's all about Kraken Impact, and they brought the Storm to try and get that extra burst damage, making it so that they're sticking with this 2-2-2 strategy. Freedom Charge coming off cooldown, potentially just in time for the turnaround of Media M. If they can get it onto the back line, take it out! Both the strategists! That's all the sustain, all that's left is Cap, and the Galactic Legend is absolutely melting through that. And Enzo just dunked them into the first win, taking map number 1 for BRR PATAPIM.
I mean, BRR PATAPIM just seemed to understand the assignment right. You don't have to deal with a fastball, but obviously they didn't know that. They didn't know that Sentinel wasn't playing, but they just get rid of the Wolverine out of the draft. They have to go for something that's a little bit more experimental, but they make sure that they take out the Loki. They go for the Adam as well. They take out the Magneto and the Wolverine, and it's just easy setup from that point. They really play around just setting up the pocket over onto Pokey, and when he's just up on the high ground like that with the turret as the Punisher, what on earth can you do? It's just so hard to contest him when he's just putting out that much damage, but also able to get that many final hits too alongside Tanuki. It's just the duo from hell, right, to have to deal with as the duelists, and perfectly set up from the rest of Patapim.
30-2, with almost half of them being final hits. Love that catch there from Cat to try and give them at least a turnaround. Every single member of Insomnia is highly skilled, some of the best in the game right now. But BRR, they've been playing together for a long time. Since MRI, the team, the little roster apocalypse we got, a little bit of a regroup, sniping a couple members from Luminosity, sniping a couple members from OG. They created a monster of a roster that has just been rising and rising throughout the stands of EMEA.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall for BRR Patapim, it's a good sign too, because the series that you lost against C10 was frankly for seeding. So you could just buy it off and be like, it doesn't matter, these are the games that do. And up against a particular prickly team like Insomnia, a first pretty handed like domination win is a good start. But now you need to worry about Insomnia taking you to Symbiotic Surface, for one, and that's an area that they love to go to. I don't know if that's necessarily good
defenses. They've been using Rocket for quick reinforcements. They've done portal engages. Insomnia, this is their home. They are infused with the essence of Null, and they're going to try and use it to start the comeback.
They have such a way with words for that one too. They're 2-1 in it so far, but one of those victories was up against Virtus Pro. So a pretty good showing. You also have them beating Peps and narrowly losing to Rad, who hadn't dropped a map at all at that point. Looking in, are we seeing the addition of Sentinel? Unfortunately not, because he was going to have to do, and the save over to the Wolverine makes a lot of sense considering that BRR Patapim banned it out last time pretty much instantly.
It's been the key in quite a few of these games, so open it up. But this does mean that BRR can now get some priorities. They can now grab themselves a Loki and Emma. Anything of that line. Emma might be pretty solid here, as Diamond Form means you won't get picked up by Wolverine, but they choose Loki. If the objective is to try and stop people from getting dove on, then you can protect them on the backline that way.
Also just means that if Insomnia decide to go for like a triple strategist ban here, starting off with Luna Snow, so it's looking likely, means that you have something ready to go. And in the end, if they do take the Emma Frost out, then it means that you have another option to protect, like a Luna or a Cloak and Dagger, or just something a little bit more offensive if BRR Patapim feel the need into having it. Because Insomnia GG are falling into that trap a little bit. It's the Rad draft ban system coming through, but a Punisher taken out on the side of BRR Patapim means that we won't be seeing Demon or Nocta be able to play it.
Demon has been very proficient on this Punisher and the Wolverine, but again, they have played Hela, Star-Lord, and Torch as well. Nocta, they still have several solid options. They have been the one who's been bringing out the Adam Warlock, for example, in the composition where they did launch the Wolverine, because the idea is just send them in. If they go down, they get revived by the BRB, and if that goes down, then Adam just gets another revive. This is the main idea, but they have had a little bit of a lead onto Punisher compositions as well. So seeing it taken away is a little more dangerous. And there it is. Emma going to be taken out. So we do still see Insomnia get the double Vanguard ban.
I mean, you've got the Captain America, so Polly has some comfort here. Enzo, he can move over to the Venom if he wants to play something, even a bit of Groot as well. You might ban out Wolverine here to just stop it from... Oh, sorry, you can't even do that because Insomnia have stopped it. But Hulk would be interesting to try to gun for. I kind of like the idea, but then you sort of put them on the thing, and the thing isn't bad in a lot of cases either, with the Earthbound effect to stop people from being able to get out with movement abilities. But instead of actually, yeah, it's an interesting end to this draft, I think.
BRR have learned. They have been watching, as we will see a very familiar composition for Insomnia, but instead of the rocket, they are bringing out that Luna, and they're bringing out the cloak and dagger. Not yet going for a Hulk play. It was very sensible to ban out the Captain America, as that is, while the Hulk throwing system can be extremely deadly, it is very consistent to just give Wolverine a load of bonus health and just let them keep on cruising. But seeing Wolverine come in so consistently, BRR are immediately hovering the thing of their own. Wolverine's power comes from the ability to dash, being hypermobile, and try and pick people up and get away with them. The thing cannot be moved. They cannot be crowd controlled in that way. They can follow anyone who is with an embattled leap to try and protect them, but it looks like they may have decided to go against that and start on Doctor Strange.
Yeah, Doctor Strange, Captain America, seeing the Psylocke and the torch flying around for BRR PATAPIM. Comfortable, I'd say, for the most part. Alex on the Invisible Woman means that you just get a lot of support up in the sky for Tanuki, and obviously that team up at the same time. Right now, portal plays coming in from both sides, and it's a bit of a brutal approach as BRR PATAPIM were preemptive with their approach, making sure that Insomnia couldn't set up for themselves as Forever was considering it. I don't know if it got interrupted though. Regardless, Insomnia looking to go route one with their approach.
This did allow Pokey to get a little bit of poke, but now Passimo swapping off of the Doctor Strange, so no portal coming out. And here comes the Incredible Hulk. They're going to try it. Passimo going to try and fill in the shoes of Sentinel here, and they're going to see if they can get a quick pickup. The idea, send them to the skybox, see if we can grab someone, but they don't get it. The Psionic Force, the pull from the Invisible Woman shuts it down. And already they will take out Tanuki. They do still get the follow-up, and Insomnia are going to try and go for overwhelming momentum right onto the point as fast as possible, forcing them into that hallway, keeping Pokey locked down, using the jump pack from Rocket that they grabbed earlier, but it's not enough for the finishing blokes. The strategist healing is just a bit too much.
They got the regen domain out of the way, and BRR PATAPIM not really losing numbers. They're still sort of here, so they're able to go for this fight. At least Demons making sure you can ward them away. Trying to get up onto the Captain America that's up and down in the sky, but Holly is not quite there with the Freedom Charge, and so far BRR PATAPIM have done a good job to try and keep contesting this. Invincible Boundary, I mean, that's the problem, right? Demon could just grab people in and out of it. They're forced to back up, and now that this is on 99%, lovely play with the Eye of Agamotto to catch on to two, but Insomnia still having to dedicate and fight for this space. You have got the Karmic Revival now for Noctis. We do start to see people from Insomnia go down, but right now it's BRR PATAPIM that's losing the numbers, and they lose the point.
Polly drops the Freedom Charge, but that bonus help for your allies outside of the initial burst only continues to tick for people in the path, and the path doesn't happen if you don't move. Radioactive lockdown from Passimo to keep them in place and prevent that charge in by Polly, allowing Insomnia to claim that first point and getting ready for more orbital Wolverine strategies.
This is what BRR PATAPIM would be expecting. Yeah, Enzo on the thing, expected it, ready for it. And Alex over on the Invisible Woman, no doubt, for the force physics to just enable stuff. And I love the way that actually BRR PATAPIM are dealing with this. They're really just forcing them back, and catching onto Polly isn't too much of a big deal, but if it keeps stringing together, he might have more than he bargained for. Luckily, Polly's a well-veteran Captain America, so he's able to just dash out of dodge, get to safety. But the last stand is actually going to take out Tanuki. He's stuck right in the corner and just on the cusp of getting that final judgment. That's a great potential pick. And Passimo's filling in that role as Sentinel's sort of left by the wayside. And while we do have the Dance of the Butterflies being used, everybody on the side of Insomnia is grouped up that it's not going to matter.
The Soul Bond keeping them sustained. Here comes the Eternal Bond, countered by the Invisible Boundary, but they get Ken, meaning they will not get the clone for the second Invisible Boundary. Psionic Seduction. This is the full commit out of Insomnia with Monster Hulk to cut off any reinforcements. Tanuki is giving everything they can to try and delay this Guardian Shield to try and keep them sustained, but they are outnumbered. They're getting pushed off. Polly will go for a delay, but gets sniped out the air by Nocta, and this is vintage Insomnia. This is why people ban the Wolverine against them. This is why people don't like to play this map against them. They just know how to do it.
BRR PATAPIM, another situation that they're in. They're setting up nicely with the ultimates on their own, but it's whether they're going to get a moment of respite to try to set up for an engagement here, or whether these fastballs are just going to keep being annoying and in the face of BRR BRR PATAPIM. There is a clobbering time available for Enzo, but they've lost one of their supports already. Relaxing Sky, Relaxing Knight's going down pretty early on in this engagement. Might slow things down for Insomnia, and losing the Wolverine certainly is going to allow BRR BRR PATAPIM a bit of space to allow this reset. They've got ultimates too to work with. Just using the clobbering time for Enzo, they're going to be sitting pretty for now.
Passivo gets staggered. That buys a lot of time, and they needed that because Insomnia had over 3.5 minutes remaining. Now they just need to back up and regroup, wait for the return of Passivo on that Hogue. Luckily, Hogue is one of the faster rollouts due to having that incredibly long jump to try and re-engage. The constant duel of the game of Dash Chicken between Pokey and Demon. If Pokey dashes first, they avoid Demon. If Demon dashes first, Pokey could be in serious trouble. Silent Seduction is going to come out for forever into the back. Like Polly getting locked down, being stopped from chasing in and adding any follow-up.
Well, Pokey now trying to pull your attention away a little bit, backing up, going back in, disengaged, almost playing with his food a little bit. Nocta's going to go for the resurrect just off of the passive. Soul Perseverance going to bring him in, and he's actually going to get the revenge onto Pokey. But Demon, we're back onto his perspective, and it's just a bloodbath on screen for the most part, isn't it? Last stand, he's waiting for it, and off the back of this final judgment, it's a lot of people going down, but they're all going to be brought up by this Karmic Revival. It's just a reset, a factory of Nocta. Insomnia have the numbers to still engage onto this, and the invisible boundary to just buy them a little bit of space to work with. You've got the Wolverine jumping onto the thing, immovable object, unstoppable force. We don't really know how that one's going to go, but freedom charge for Polly is going to allow BRR BRR PATAPIM to go for the side swipe, not even going on the route that the payload was moving along, pulling this into unprecedented areas for Insomnia, and they're not able to go for the fight. And the last stand, Tetcher, held on entirely from Demon.
Relaxing Sky getting focused down, trying just not to get staggered. Instead, there's nothing they can do. They could try and run to their team, they'd get taken out. They were trying to force it by pressuring the objective, not able to do so, and once again, BRR BRR showed that they have so much patience to be able to just wait on these KOs, making it so that Insomnia lose even more time. Forever has been doing fantastic on these silent seductions with the setup. Here comes the next launch. Blind to the skybox. Almost finds punish and just able to get away with that as they'll pull back to the cart, getting ready for the next duel.
There's the dance of the butterflies, immediately getting onto Relaxing Knights too. Bit of a problem. It forces that hook smash from Insomnia, but still the picks are going away over on BRR BRR PATAPIM. You lose out over on the Adam Warlock. Noctis down for the time being. Not really close to having a Karmic Revival, so you don't have to worry about that for the time being. But there's the combination. You're seeing it nicely from the clobbering time to just keep this fight going for BRR BRR PATAPIM. The Zero, and you can see Demon just shredding as much as he possibly can. Means that this is still more of an even fight, but a very quick turnaround with this final judgment from Tanuki. Is there going to be much like strategist ults to sit back on this one? It's looking really uncomfortable. Lurkin and Relaxing Knights both used them very recently, so it's an easy cleanup yet again. Forever was holding on to that silent seduction. Probably wise to us. There's just 30 seconds left.
Passivo's going to get staggered again, and that is devastating. With 30 seconds left, like you say, it might be time for anything they have left in the tank. They have a Karmic Revival, so if they can get Noxa to the point, they've got 2 fights in this, and they decided that it is time for the Strange. Immediately, Demon swaps to Psylocke. They gotta make sure that they have the best fights they can do here, so they're going for full burst. Revive, Psionic Seduction, Karmic Revival is going to be key if Nocta can stay safe, and they just took out Tanuki within seconds of arriving.
Oh no!
No time!
Get on it! I mean, C9 don't have a team in this game currently, do they? Did we say that that's on them?
Oh my, they were just not on the point. They got the first pickup, but they were not standing on the objective. Overtime ticks over, and now BRR BRR PATAPIM find themselves in a situation that not many teams have found themselves in. Going into Insomnia while they are on attack, when Insomnia did not get a triple cap.
It's not going to be overtime hijinks, and that's really an area that Insomnia were really strong in of just when there wasn't any time left, when it all is said and done, they're able to still just dig deep and find a lot of space that other teams couldn't manage. So the fact that we didn't see overtime triggered there is triggering for Insomnia, no doubt. A blip on a day like this, so BRR PATAPIM set up nicely, I would say.
It looks like BRR PATAPIM is still potentially going to hover on that thing. The thing plus Captain America is a composition we saw right at the end of Season 1 when the thing was out, which did actually some pretty decent success. The whole strategy of literally just running in as hard as you can and just bursting through everything. But it did get replaced as time went on due to the fact that it didn't really have any protection for the backline and people did just wrap around it. But BRR PATAPIM going to try and bring it out because they're expecting more of that melee style from Insomnia where they might be able to punish it. But Demon has moved over to the Star-Lord.
Seeing BRR PATAPIM slowly make their way onto the point. And so still dedicating to the thing is just honestly putting himself on the board to move people from Insomnia, force them down to contest. That alone might find some space for Pokey. It isn't him. He's trying to go down and find a little bit of an alcove to sit in and sneak away, fully healed up by this regeneration domain. He's now going in alongside that tank. That cousin duo has been so strong, and whilst it's not him in the limelight, it's the pick going in the way of Polly.
Polly's keeping the pressure on, diving up. You can see that soul bond getting used. They commit the second it expires. Indestructible guard to keep the team topped up. But with Demon down, numbers are in favor of BRR PATAPIM as they can begin to push on in. Ken burning that God of Mischief so that they have the ultimate. Invisible boundary will be committed. Lurk and forced to go for that eternal bond to make sure that they are matching. And it's going to be enough as Nocta again is able to get one up on Tanuki.
And so the butterflies coming in from Pokey yet again. All of Insomnia understand the assignment, try to group up, but they still lose Relaxing Nights and they lose Lurkin shortly afterwards too. I think it's just a fact of 3 sets to go in for the Karmic Revival to bring them straight back. Nocta set this up nicely on this defense of BRR PATAPIM. I mean, that's a risk, right? We're seeing the Freedom Charge used alongside that Final Judgment, and Insomnia are holding on. They actually have the numbers and they're able to turn it around and back again. It's 78% on the board for BRR PATAPIM, but Insomnia are stopping this from being taken. They've wasted 2 minutes, Tetcher. This could be a complete full hold if they keep this up.
Also, the Butterflies and Sonic Seduction are at the ready, whereas BRR currently have nothing. They're about to get clobbering time. Tanuki forced to portal to reinforce to make sure they can try and contest this, attacking from one end while their team attacks from the other. They're going to try and commit to this. Yancy Street Charge going deep into the backline, but it doesn't. Butterfly going to be coming out. Polly is taken out immediately at the start of this fight by Pasiwo, who is showing off on this Hulk. Relaxing Sky snipes Tanuki, who is just becoming target practice at this point. Insomnia are locked in on them, realizing how much of a threat they are. And Insomnia hold with 1.5 minutes to go, but Pokey gets a revenge pickup.
Oh yeah, that could be big. Tanuki moving over to the Black Panther. Comfort is everything with 1 minute to go, near enough. Silent Seduction's going to be used pretty much off the rip for Insomnia forever. Wanted to try and claim some space, and it's going to force out Pokey away from the shadows to try and go for a fight and go for a little bit of this posturing. It's also going to force out a pretty early Eternal Bond from Lurkin, and you lose Relaxing Nights again. They keep going down in pivotal times, and Nocta not only doesn't have the Karmic Revival, but he goes down to Pokey as well. Paulie now trying to set up and just keep alive. He's very close to having that Freedom Charge, which might be enough, but not necessary. If Pokey keeps up this space, Dance to the Butterfly cleans up, and finally BRR PATAPIM. It takes 1.5 minutes, Tetcher, but they're able to take point 1.
They finally found it with that early pickup onto Demon, forcing them onto the Wolverine. They then took the fight before they got back, and they were able to stagger beautifully. Nocta went down too recently. They did not have the Cocoon. Relaxing Sky, of course, does not have a Cocoon, and the Karmic Revival was not yet off cooldown, meaning that BRR were able to time that push to perfection. Now it is about hitting that point number 2. Wolverine has been swapped off. Demon has decided the Torch is the play, and Tanuki, stuck on the ground, is going to be having to land these dives perfectly, and it seems to have worked out with Pokey and Tanuki able to take them down, forcing the Karmic Revival immediately.
Camera revival forced out, yeah. And Pokey now having to give up a little bit of space when PC was just in his face like that. Hulk Smash is very, very close to being used, so this fight can go on a little bit longer without needing to dedicate that fate of both worlds from Relaxing Nights. You have to look at the backline, right? You're looking at those triple strategists to stay alive when you've got Tanuki and Pokey running at you with these combinations. There's players down low and the resets are scary enough. It's going to force out the fate of both worlds. Understandable when you look at that combination and the Hulk Smash just trying to carve a little bit more space for Insomnia on this defense. They're buying a lot of time and they know how far they need to hold off before BRR PATAPIM can take this map 2-0.
Indestructible Guard is holding out for the moment. Invisible Boundary for Alex. BRR PATAPIM attempting to commit to this dance and butterfly to the backline, and with all the strategist ultimates down, Insomnia are sliced through like a knife through butter. But Tanuki and Pokey are picked up on the other side, leaving the Vanguards and Demon to try and make something happen. Lurker has moved over to the Doctor Strange. They intend to hold this here. Nocta is going to get melted here, trying to stay topped up. But even if they go down here, there's a portal coming in. They're just so close to the ultimate. They want to stay up. Enzo looking for that Eye of Agamotto to try and catch anyone. The portal coming in for the reinforcements. The Psionic Seduction being held for the last possible moment. Relaxing Sky taken out on the backline. And it's all about these backline pickups. Pokey and Tanuki have full control right now, wiping the defenses. And the portal will have already expired. That is going to be BRR PATAPIM pushing in towards point number 2.
It's so hard for Insomnia when you don't have the Loki as well on your side to put down these regeneration domains. It just feels like every single fight Relaxing Nights is the first to go down. When you've got two dive characters just jumping on top of you, it's so much work for Forever to just be holding on. Pasivo is going to move over to the Venom to go for a different approach. A Demon back over on the Wolverine without the combination. Lurkin, I think, switching over to the Rocket Raccoon for a little bit of comfort more than anything. Some self-heal as well to boost out. The Eye of Agamotto catching on to both Vanguards, and the cleanup is nice from BRR PATAPIM. The point hasn't quite reached the second area. It's not really going to be too much. Insomnia just buying up until they can get into overtime, which means that, what, there's going to be 90 seconds left to push the rest of this map? Yeah. So BRR PATAPIM, a couple of fights left. Insomnia want to just stall this out as much as they possibly can. Nocta moving over towards the Namor.
They're going all in on range defense right now. This is how Insomnia like to play. They force you to fight for every inch. They will reinforce with rocket. They'll reinforce with portals. They will just burn whatever it takes to make it so that their team gets to the point first. And that is the idea here. With this Namor on the backline, Dance of the Butterfly going to be trying to take them down. Has to use the Aquatic Blessing to get out of danger. It's enough to take down Relaxing Sky, who will be brought back at the BRB, but that means there's nothing for Forever and no one on the point. That is going to be GG. BRR PATAPIM take the 2-0.
We need an action replay on the mewing right at the end there to finish it off. But man, it was a good effort from Insomnia. It just felt that once Tanuki moves over to that Black Panther, it's just too much for that backline to deal with. But Relaxing Nights was just going down first every single fight because of the focus. And like I said, you don't have a Loki that can just regen domain. It's hard to find people to actively peel for your backline when it's just under that much unrelenting force. It does mean the BRR PATAPIM do get to bounce back a little bit more. Insomnia down to the losers bracket. Even with this fastball strategy, BRR PATAPIM came in very prepared and dealt with it nicely.
They really did. They adjusted. They bought out the thing. They adjusted for just continuous backline blobs. When they realized that they were having a little bit of trouble with keeping Tanuki up, they said, well, if he's going to go down, he might as well try and take someone with him. Swapping over to the BP, just keeping the pressure on, realizing that if Insomnia's composition is all based around engaging with 3 people, then there's 3 other people who are sitting nice and pretty, potentially easy pickups for dive characters. And that is BRR PATAPIM taking control 2 times, able to utilize Dance of the Butterfly to control carts, and they are moving on in that upper bracket to play against either Virtus Pro or Low 9.
Yeah, scary stuff. You would imagine it'd be Virtus Pro. So BRR PATAPIM getting a chance to fight up against the champions pretty early on in playoffs. Means that if you do end up losing, that there's a chance to reset. Hopefully, if you continue on with the losers bracket, you get that rematch potentially a little bit later on. But looking back at this, I think this is a good return to form for BRR PATAPIM. It was a little bit nervy with how they lost. And to sort of quote what Knuten was saying from Z10 about BRR PATAPIM in the podcast prior to playoffs, prior to Igniting starting, BRR PATAPIM is a team that can sort of make it as the top team or break it as the top team. Like, they can win against the likes of Virtus Pro, but lose against the bottom teams of the tournament potentially, because they can be that rocky. Here, we saw a very strong, resolute tree that is that BRR PATAPIM squad.
Questions about how they get trained up for these matches. Salah is joining us. For starters, congratulations on yet another win, continuing your journey through the bracket. You are up against either Virtus Pro or Low 9 next. Would you prefer to play against Virtus Pro for that consistent rematch throughout the history of Marvel Rivals, or is Low 9 your preference as potentially someone you haven't played against as much?
Nah, we prefer VP. I think we were kind of upset when they went and lost the other day to Red. I think that should have been us. I think we all think it should have been us. So yeah, we want VP for sure.
First of all, it's good to see you, bud. It's been a while. Secondly,
what's up, Brian?
I think I wanted to get your take on what happened against like Z10, because I spoke to like Enzo a little bit, and like I know you were trying some things with like banning out Torch first and stuff like that. What was it from your perspective as a coach? Because sometimes, you know, players from their perspective could be like, oh, we went wrong because we did this thing. And you're sat there as a coach being like, it was more of like, we stopped communicating, or we got too stressed, or we just went for some weird picks in the draft. Like, from your seat, what was the problem in that Z10 like grand final last week?
I think it's like a mixture of everything you said almost. I think, first of all, we are the team that kind of experiments the most with drafting and different comps and different ideas. I think we maybe had a few ideas that didn't work that day, but maybe can still work, maybe can't. I think they also drafted quite well in that specific situation, and yeah, I think we just had an off day a little bit. I don't think it was anything specific. We are a team that, when we're good, we're maybe the best in the world, but we can dip a little bit. But yeah, I don't think it was anything big. I think it was just they had good drafts against us, maybe won the draft a few times in a few games, and yeah, it was a bit too late. I think we went 0-2 down, and then we kind of were able to recover a little bit, but it was a bit too late at that point. So yeah, they also played very well. I think they're a good team, to be honest.
Let's jump a little bit back to the present here, as you just had your matchup versus Insomnia, batting out the Wolverine in game number 1, but letting it through in game number 2 on the map they have consistently played it on. Was it just because you knew you were prepared, as I did see a little bit of thing hovering right away, or was this just, we need to let something else through so that we can get the priority?
I mean, we banned Wolf the first map, and we expected them to save it insta, like on the first save on the second map, because we know it's their pick, basically. That's their win condition. We were prepared against it. I think he's really good, so it made it a little bit hard, but we were prepared. I think it was more so just no reason to ban out the Wolf in that situation. If they want it that badly, let them have it. We'll beat them with it anyways.
Okay, so the question I want to ask requires a little bit of setup, but we're basically from a game previously, and you had a habit as a coach where you would go up to the teams that you were playing up against and you try to do the draft like a day before. You'd be like, let's do the draft now. Have you managed to sort of pull out those mind games against like some of the teams in Marvel Rivals yet? Because I feel like whilst you don't have like a map pick ban system, the draft system in itself is almost more complicated in a sense, because you have to prepare for different looks. Like, what's that like for you? Do you get to sort of bring out some ideas that can leave teams a little bit confused playing up against you?
I think we have this is the first time in my career kind of that I've had a team that is almost, what's the correct word? Bigger monkeys than me, if that makes sense. We are the monkey team, I would say. And I don't need to do a lot. In this team, I can kind of chill most of the time, and they do most of the work for me. I think if you ask a lot of other people, they would say the same thing. So I can be more of a grandpa and kind of just chill and relax, and they'll do the job for me. They'll psych other people out, or they'll come up with the crazy ideas themselves.
So what is actually the vibe in terms of, like, obviously psyching out? You say that they're happy to do that for you, but in terms of drafting and doing the calls for the scrims and stuff like that, what is the vibe between you and them?
It's a team effort. Sometimes I'm coming with ideas. Sometimes they're coming. I mean, Barcode's really, really smart. For example, I think he's probably the best in-game leader in the game. I don't know how others are, but I would say he's the best. He comes up with a lot of good ideas. We have like a lot of players who are extremely smart. Let's say Tanuki, Alex, Tenor, and then we have like Poli and Pokey who are just running all the time at them, you know. And I think Poli was insane today, for example. So. It's a mix. It's not like I think Ryan knows in Valorant I was much more of a dominant coach, let's say, but I don't really need to do it here. My players are insane, man. So I can kind of just chill and they do a lot of things themselves.
You just keep them on the straight and narrow when it matters, I guess. We'll leave it there. Like, yeah. I guess you guys can sit back and watch this next series, see who you're playing up against in the next round. But absolute pleasure to talk to you again, Salah. No doubt we'll see a little bit more of you guys, certainly as Ignite goes on.